All right, let's dive into one of the greatest underdog stories in all of history, the birth of the United States. We're going to break down how a handful of colonies took on a global superpower and actually won.
I mean, that's really the question at the heart of it all, right? You've got Great Britain, this massive military and economic machine, the most powerful in the world. And on the other side, 13 scrappy colonies with a makeshift army and a really, really big idea. That's the story we're getting into today.
So you know how big fights rarely start over just one thing? It's usually a slow burn, a bunch of little things that pile up. Well, that's exactly what happened here. This wasn't a sudden explosion. These were the seeds of revolution being planted over time.
Okay, so what were they so mad about? It really comes down to this list. Think about it like this. Imagine your landlord decides to double your rent, tells you his friends are going to crash on your couch for free, and never once asks for your opinion. That's pretty much what the colonists felt was happening. Things like the Stamp Act and the Tea Act meant more and more taxes, and the real kicker? They had zero say in any of it, no representation.
And really all of that stuff, the taxes, the soldiers, the laws, it all points to one huge core issue. The colonists felt like they had no control over their own lives. They didn't have self-government. And that right there was the spark that was about to light a fire.
Well, you can only push people so far. All that frustration eventually boiled over into action. The time for just complaining was over. The colonists decided it was time to make a formal and very final break.
And if you're going to break up with a global empire, you can't just, send a text. You need to write the ultimate breakup letter, one that tells them exactly why it's over and justifies it to the rest of the world.
And this was it, the Declaration of Independence. Its purpose was crystal clear, to put it down in writing, for everyone to see that the colonies were done. They were free. This was more than just politics. It was a bold, fresh start.
And this is the why. I mean, these are some of the most powerful words ever written. This laid out the entire big idea for the new nation. The argument was basically that people are born with certain rights that nobody, not even a king, can take away. And that includes the right to be free.
So who was the person who put these revolutionary ideas on paper so perfectly? That would be Thomas Jefferson. His words didn't just fire up the colonists, they would go on to inspire people fighting for freedom all over the world.
And here's the day to remember, July 4th, 1776. That's when it all became official. It's America's birthday. But here's the thing, declaring you're free is one thing. Actually winning that freedom is a whole different ballgame.
All right, so we've gone from complaints to a declaration. Now it's time for the fight. Those words on paper were basically a line in the sand, and a full-blown war was now pretty much inevitable.
The conflict that came next, of course, is the American Revolutionary War. This was the long, tough struggle to turn the ideals from the Declaration into a real, actual country.
Man, this war was an absolute roller coaster. It started with battles like Bunker Hill, where the colonists proved this wasn't going to be a walk in the park for the British. But things got dire until Washington's legendary crossing of the Delaware, a huge shot in the arm for morale. Then came the brutal winter at Valley Forge, where the army nearly fell apart. The real game changer, though, was the victory at Saratoga. That's what convinced France to jump in and help out, which was absolutely crucial. It all led to that final moment in 1781, the British surrender at Yorktown. They had actually done it.
Of course, a war isn't just about dates and battles, is it? It's about the people who lead the way. So let's talk about a few of the absolute titans of this revolution.
First up, you have to talk about the man who held the whole thing together, George Washington. Without him, the entire cause probably would have just collapsed.
As general of the Continental Army, his refusal to give up was the stuff of legend. It's no wonder they started calling him the father of his country. And it makes perfect sense that he would be the unanimous choice to become the first president, the one guy everyone trusted to get this new nation on its feet.
Next, let's go back to the man with the ideas, the big thinker of the revolution, Thomas Jefferson.
We already know he was the genius behind the words in the Declaration, but his job was far from over. He helped build the actual government as the very first Secretary of State, and later on, he became the third President of the United States.
And finally, you can't talk about this era without talking about Benjamin Franklin. This guy was a total rock star, a scientist, an inventor, and, most importantly for the war, a brilliant diplomat.
His contributions were huge. Yeah, he helped write the Declaration, but his most critical role was over in Europe. He was the one who charmed the French and secured that vital alliance,
Without France's help, the war could have gone a completely different way. And on top of all that, he's still shaping America today by founding things like the first public libraries. Just an incredible figure.
Okay, so the war is won. The heroes have played their parts. What's the end result? A brand new nation, forged out of those 13 scattered colonies.
And here they are. This is the starting lineup. What used to be 13 separate colonies, from Massachusetts all the way down to Georgia, were now united as the 13 original states. This was the foundation of a new country, the United States of America.
And that leaves us with one last giant question. You see, winning a war is one thing, but creating a government that actually works, one that can last and protect all those rights from the Declaration, that is a whole other challenge. So, with independence secured, the biggest question of all remained: what now?